Welcome to the studio at Cityscapes Global. I'm Pip Thompson and I'm delighted to be joined by Justin Lester, who is the former Mayor of Wellington in New Zealand. Hello, Justin.
Hi,
Thanks
Pip.
so much for coming into the studio to chat to me. How come you're here, first of all? What's the reasoning behind you getting this invite?
It's a good question. Look, I hadn't been to Saudi Arabia before. The team reached out and I thought, what a really interesting place to visit. So I love the Middle East. I'd spent a bit of time traveling around Jordan, Lebanon, Syria before the war, and further afield up into Turkey, and I've always wanted to come here. So look, it's fascinating and I'm very curious.
As Mayor, you were Mayor for 9 years in Wellington. You became known for really pushing that environmental sustainability agenda. You can bring so much experience to this conference, can't you? Tell me what you did.
Look, have you been to Wellington?
No.
When
and
are
you're
you
going to tell me off for that.
When are you coming to visit?
As soon as I can.
Great.
As soon as I have a gap in my diary, Justin.
And I only asked because, look, I asked everybody in the audience today, and very few had been to New Zealand or Wellington. But so I'm here to speak about urban diplomacy, because real action takes place in cities, not at a national level with government. Governments would like to think they're in charge, and they do distribute the money, but actually they do very little on the ground. That's often cities, it's schools, it's hospitals, which are often administered locally as well. So you learn a lot, and I certainly learned a lot in the role. And it's really important you get it right, because if you build the incorrect infrastructure, if you build it in the wrong spaces, if you don't build it in a multimodal form when we're talking about transport or housing, then it's very expensive to correct. So look, I spent a lot of time as a young person traveling, living abroad. I learned German and Japanese, so lived in Tokyo and then Heidelberg and Berlin, lived in the UK. And so I always collected things that I loved about those places, and that I wanted to replicate in my own hometown. I moved from the South Island in the very south of the world, really, Invercargill. It's the southernmost city in the world, and then moved up to Wellington because it's, I think, New Zealand's most cosmopolitan city. It blends Europe and those bigger cities with New Zealand. So what do you learn? Just so much. People want a place where they have someone to love, somewhere to live, and something to hope for. Humans are pretty basic in that sense. So we want a place in Wellington where talent wants to live. We can retain our young people. They don't have to move overseas. They can be educated well locally, that they can live locally and afford a home. They have a good job. It's safe. There's good provision of health, and in a natural environment that's stunning, where they can swim in the ocean and the rivers. They can get out and enjoy themselves and have fun. And that's really what it boils down to.
So you have a strong environmental ethos, and you were known, I think, for your progressive policies in Wellington. What was your action plan? You were mayor for 9 years. What did you do?
Yeah, I was on the council for 9 years, mayor for 3, and deputy mayor for 3 as well. What did we do? Look, I was a young man in a hurry. I think I was the youngest mayor elected in Wellington. And so we wanted to, first and foremost, just build confidence in our city. When I talk about being a place where talent wants to live, that every young person, when they finished high school or university, they wanted to live in Wellington. And if you're coming from overseas, be it Asia or the UK or Australia or Canada or America, the first place you want to live is Wellington. Not Auckland, which is the biggest city, but Wellington. So what did we do? Look, we are probably the only city in the world that is legitimately improving its biodiversity. And that's quite an incredible feat. If you think about it, and lots of places will say they're doing it, but they're not. Carbon emissions are rising, places are becoming more polluted, waterways and water systems are less accessible or swimmable than they have been in the past. But meanwhile in Wellington, we've created a wildlife environment where we're restoring natural and native flora and fauna. I think there are 2 endemic species, for context, in the UK that are endemic only to the UK. New Zealand has thousands. but we've had many of these that have been extinct from the mainland, so from the main two islands, for more than 50 to 100 years. We're bringing them back. Where I live in Karori, we've got kiwi, like quite literally in the backyards of some people. We have kaka, which are squawking parrots, that flying around the beehive, which is our parliament. We have kariarea, which is a native falcon, screaming down from the hills at 200 kilometres per hour, plucking a pigeon out of the sky and taking it home for dinner. Which
amazing sight.
It's incredible to watch, and look, I actually can't believe it. 30 years ago, even in Wellington, tui, which is one of our native songbirds, we had 6 breeding pair left in the city. Now there are thousands, and it's all because we took a nature reserve. We had thousands of volunteer hours of restoring it. We put a predator fence around it. It's the size of Manhattan, and we've got all this abundant nature coming back to our city. It's just incredible, and any place can do it, but it takes time.
So when it comes to urban planning and development, the environment is at the forefront, is it for you?
It has to be. Look, we're lucky in New Zealand. It is an arc. It's sort of an arc of nature. Look, we're 2 volcanic islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Our closest neighbour is 3 hours by plane, being Australia. So we're quite different. And we've always been different, and we'll always be different.
You've spoken, I think, about New Zealand and Wellington looking back to the future. What does that concept mean when it comes to development?
Yeah, look, and it's getting back to basics and what the country was once like. You can see this in Saudi Arabia now. You can see it in Dubai as well, where you've had this tremendous growth and everything's at breakneck pace. But it comes with consequences if you don't think long term. New Zealand, those consequences were our entire native forests were degraded. They were felled, they were turned into farming. That served its purpose, but then you realise there are consequences. It pollutes rivers, it pollutes waterways and lakes, and ultimately oceans. So we've sought to change that. So looking back to the future is, how was our country once, and how do we get it back to the way it was?
Do you think you can do it all?
Well, it's been 30 years now and it's improving a lot. It's not perfect. And our local Māori, so we say mana whenua, which is people of this place, they've got a 500-year view. It's far too long. So don't break it in the first place. But plan for the future. And if you make mistakes, restore back to the way it once was, and you'll never regret that.
Something you did, I think it was described as community-driven planning. What does that mean in practice?
It means devolution of power. And now, it's funny because I was a politician, I was the mayor, but sometimes you say to the politicians, just get out of the way. Communities know their communities best. They often know their jobs best. They know what local transport infrastructure or community infrastructure they need. So let them get on with it. Fund them appropriately. Consult broadly, widely, get their feedback. And then let them make the decision and then be the advocate on their behalf, the champion for their community. And that's something I was able to do where I lived, which is great because we had not much investment for a long period of time. We've got a library and a swimming pool and improved, safer roadways. We've got a cycleway and a football turf with an artificial pitch. And it's great. It was $60 million worth of investment that transformed a place that people wanted to live in, but the kids could enjoy. And that came from the community, not from me. I was their champion, helped seed ideas, but then ultimately they chose what was important and we drove it. And so to many politicians, I'd say, just please get out of the way.
Wellington has been described a number of times as one of the world's most livable cities. Why is that?
Yeah, a range of reasons.
And I know you're biased, obviously, but you know, how would you explain it to me?
Yeah, look, and again, it goes back to what I said at the start. We've all travelled, we've all been to places we love. It might be New York with its vibrancy and there's something that's electric, it's always going on. You can't go to Tokyo and not love the place. It's not perfect again, but you know, the food, the lights, the way it comes alive at night. In Wellington, it's a mixture of all of these things. So I choose to live there. I didn't grow up there. I hadn't been to Wellington until I became an adult. But after living in more provincial South Island of New Zealand, which is stunningly beautiful, but could be seen by some to be a bit boring, for young people.
So what are the main things that make a city like Wellington so friendly?
Yeah, look, we brought all those things into one place. It feels dynamic. It's only 500,000 people, but it feels like a cosmopolitan city. I remember going there. We've got skyscrapers, big buildings, which you don't have in other parts of New Zealand. It's very dense. You can walk from one part of the CBD to the other part of the CBD within half an hour. So it's got this human scale. You don't have to drive.
So you can get everywhere you need to go on foot.
Yes, in the CBD. Absolutely everywhere. I mean, I run to work. It's a 25-minute run. It's a 15-minute bike down a hill.
25 minutes at the pace you go.
Yeah, I'm not going that quickly.
A lot longer, I'm sure.
Maybe 30. But everything's at human scale. And I love that. I love that I don't have to get into a car if I don't want to. And there's something quite unique about being able to walk up and down Slampton Quay, we call it the Golden Mile, from the entertainment precinct down to Parliament. And you'll bump into 5, 10, sometimes 20 people you know. And it's great. You say hello. You have a great conversation. It's great for business, for networking. And it's very human. And it's fun.
And that can be replicated?
Of course.
Elsewhere, all over the world,
look,
including here.
Density done well. Green spaces, parks, making use of the natural environment. I mean, Sydney's done a great job of that with its waterfront. It's a wonderful place. Melbourne is, again, laneways, which used to be unsafe, and now the best places in the world to visit. There's a lot to be learnt, I think, from Antipodean cities because they've evolved really quickly, but they've been willing to accept change and not almost mired in the legacy of heritage or tradition that you might have seen in other places.
Culture, growth, sustainability, it's quite a balance. What would your message be to global cities about how to achieve that balance?
Yeah, again, start small. Look at local communities, find out what's important to them, what do they want, and then deliver it. It might be a park, it might be a swimming pool or a playground, it might be they want a football pitch or a rugby pitch, somewhere to play, or a basketball court, and listen to them. But then it's really important to have that hub too, like a hub and perhaps spokes around the outside. And that hub is that place where people come together. I mean, if I can compare it to Auckland, which is another lovely city in New Zealand, it's a city of villages, but it doesn't really have a whole. In some respects, London's a bit like that too. It's a city of remarkable villages all over the show. It does have a whole too, but it's different. And Tokyo's a bit like that as well. We're very fortunate. We have this hub where people will come together. It's great for our economy because we have all these people come into the city and then they go back home at the end of the day. But it means that we've got that density, we've got that buzz, and it's, again, very human.
Finally, how impressed are you by the projects that you see here in Saudi?
Oh, look, I've been very curious about what's been going on in Saudi. I've always loved the idea of the kingdom. Right from a world model United Nations I had in Sharm el-Sheikh as a young person back in the early 2000s, and learned. I was there with Saudi nationals who were students. So I've always been curious, but then to see the transformation in the last sort of 10 to 15 years as well is very impressive. I think now there's that soft power reaching out into the world as well. Cristiano Ronaldo coming to Saudi Arabia to play football locally did a lot to lift the awareness of this country around across the entire world. And it's funny, like that's just one little moment, but I'm sure it'll grow from there. Right now, every single day, I love rugby and rugby league, and every single day there's a new player signing up, people who I love to watch who are going to come and play over here. Golf has been similar too, so it's, we're learning a lot about Saudi Arabia. I love the ambition. I love that this is becoming a central hub and a centre of gravity for the Middle East, which is a really, really interesting place with a compelling culture, and a rich narrative. So it's great to be here.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by the studio here at Cityscape to talk to me. Justin Lester, former Mayor of Wellington in New Zealand. Thank you.
Thank you, Pip.